Well, hell, we survived another day. Yesterday should enjoy the appreciation of the rest of the world to where America's finally starting to wake up. Yesterday was the biggest group of people in our history to come out and protest. They come out by the millions. If Trump loves the size of things, and we know he couldn't stay away from the television screen, but even though he saw it, maybe he still is not going to ignore it. And he got people to believe, just like his cronies that work for him, instead of serving the American people in their job that they're supposed to be doing, called it a hate America rally. Well, any outsider that would look at this and would say, who's destroying America right now? What's destroying America right now? Oh, the tariffs? Well, Mr. President, you're the one that did that. You didn't have to, but you did anyway. This thing just will not go straight. Just makes it worse. Uh, oh, my phone's falling out. Hold a. Millions of people. Don't believe me? Go on YouTube, just punch it in the search field. You'll have plenty of videos to see because they showed the crowds. And it wasn't pictures to where it could be edited, it was video. Every major city had millions coming out. That's more people than we had that fought the revolution against the British. Ah, revolution? Yeah, that's what we need. And to those who are in public office in DC, and then, yeah, I'm talking about you, President Ass Gas. What happened to the aristocrats in 1789 when they didn't see it coming in France? You had somebody that was friends and grew up with King Louis, one individual that ended up chopping his head off, but warned him many a time, you need to change this. You need to help take care of the people. Kept warning him, and he was a friend of his. Grew up together. His name was Maximilian Robespierre. But the problem is Maximilian Robespierre dug a little too deep and it didn't know when to stop. And he ended up dying in the guillotine himself. Until they said, okay, we've killed enough of these aristocrats. We need to stop this. The revolution is over. We've achieved what we needed to achieve, and we need to move on. Now, a lot of your rich elites know this. That's why they keep sticking their finger up in the air, see which way the wind's blowing. And they know it's coming because they just refuse to change course. So they're going to try to steal as much of the silverware as they can on their way out and then try to disappear. Well, you can disappear all you want. You will be found and you'll be hunted down. Just like you ICE agents out there trying to act like the Freikorps or the SA. You'll be hunted down when this is over too. So enjoy it, because believe you me, what happened in Germany did last a while. Lasted 10 years, maybe a little bit more, but it was over pretty quickly. Guessing the ages of these men, late 20s, early 30s on average. You want to do this for a few years and then end up at the end of a rope or being hunted down? Go ahead. Keep doing what you're doing. Things I've learned by the philosophies when I was over in Japan. Death comes for us all, but for when they die, it'll be without honor. Just like Mr. Trump. If I say the next president comes in and tries to hang his painting, I'd hang it right over the presidential toilet. So every time I took a shit, he can. The President Trump's going to smell it, because that's where he belongs, in the toilet. It baffles me that these people in America that supported this man are the same people years ago I remember growing up listening to them when certain topics were brought up, saying, I cannot believe these people actually fell for this man, Adolf Hitler. Well, well, well. The question they asked in their youth, they don't ask again in their point of view of who they're following. And Trump is no Hitler. Hitler was by far a better leader than Trump will ever be. Hitler did good by his people. Yes, he did distasteful things later on in the war, before it got started. The hatred of the Jews and all that. Well, when you go back and learn its history on why that happened, you come to an understanding of why that him and a lot of his generation that fought in World War I, put yourself in his shoes and how you would feel if you were on the verge of winning the war, but you're at a stalemate. But then your Kaiser ends up making a peace deal to end the war without anybody coming into Germany. Matter of fact, Germany was all the way into France, not quite that far, but they were in France. But in World War I, nobody, marched into Germany. No army did until after the end of the war. And then the Treaty of Versailles did all those draconian things. But when you understand and put yourself in their situation, very similar to the situation that we're in, there are slight differences here and there. And then come back and ask yourself the same question. Well, what he did to the Jewish people was awful. Oh yeah, and the same people that say that is the same thing that they're doing to the Mexicans or the so-called illegals. The same thing, because that's how it started. They deported these people willingly or unwillingly to the Jewish people in Germany, until it got to a point where they started open up the camps, putting their political prisoners in there. But don't put all your faith in Adolf Hitler, because what he did, he had a lot of help financially by what was left of the aristocrats, the rich capitalists in Germany helped him, along with a lot of American capitalists helped him. So to call him a socialist because it's in his party name, you don't understand. If Hitler was trying to come to power, become the leader of the Reichstag, if he didn't have socialism in the title of his party, the German people wouldn't have paid attention to him. He had to do that, but him actually being a socialist, no. His mandate when he became leader was to kill those people, because a good majority of those Jewish people that died in the camps, they were socialists. You had the economic system, capitalism over in Germany, not socialism. Even though they threw that word around a lot, but it wasn't socialist. They stopped using that sort of after, the Kaiser died and Hitler became the ultimate leader de Führer. I can't believe I got on this subject, but let me bottle the edge here. But he killed those people. Because the cabinet, in exchange for their financial help, because a lot of people that were sympathizers with Germany were of German descent. Number one, Prescott Bush, H.W.'s father, J.W.'s grandfather. He was the head of Standard Oil, the director of Standard Oil, and he also was the head of the Union Bank in New York that was laundering Reichsmarks. And they're of German descent. The Bush family is. And if you want some proof of that, there's only one country in the world that when the kids saw their father, they called him Poppy. Germany is the only place that would ever say that. And that was H.W.'s nickname, was Poppy. So that might help you along to get an understanding about that. There was a lot of capitalist companies that were funding him. But the deal was, you need to get rid of those socialists and those communists. We don't care what you do with the Jewish people. Because they were funding both sides. And to them, it didn't matter what the outcome of the war was going to happen. They were going to be on top. Those capitalist companies. And the one that warned the American people of this, the ones that were paying attention, was in 1924. A man by the name of Eugene Victor Debs was running for president. Warned people about this. You shouldn't be fighting these wars. Look up Canton, Ohio, 1924, Eugene Victor Debs speech in Canton, Ohio. You can find it on YouTube. And by the way, there was no violence. There was no protesting. But Eugene Victor Debs got 10 years in prison for that speech. Okay? Go listen to that speech. And then go back and watch the January 6th speech of Donald Trump. And then ask yourself the question. If this man got 10 years for the speech that he gave, then Donald Trump definitely is going to get 10 years for the speech he made. Because it doesn't matter, you just blurt out peacefully. The intent of the entire speech, and you could see it, was to incite a riot. Because if anybody else were to do that and something like that happened, that person would have got charged for inciting a riot. And this is just proof that there is no equal justice under the law. But hell, a lot of your African Americans that live here, they've known that for years. We're just finally, seeing concrete proof of it, except for the ones that are in denial. Just like the government's going to be in denial of how big those crowds were. And Trump's going to claim, oh, well, my inaugurational crowd was bigger than those. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. Because, I've seen people post pictures of his inaugurational crowd, and then you get unedited photos of it. And there was a big difference. I'm like, I'll tell you what. Show us Donald Trump's in his inauguration, and then show the camera pan out and around to the crowd. That's where the truth lies there. So you can take a picture and you can edit that. That's why the crowds you seen of yesterday were not edited because they were video. They weren't pictures. My niece went to the one in Grant Park in Chicago, and I'm like, you're talking a very large park in the city of Chicago. If you were to park at McCormick, the parking garage right next to Soldier Field, you'll pass by the Museum of Science and Industry and the Stratosphere, and then you're in Grant Park. You'd walk across Grant Park, and then you're in downtown. You're talking a walk from McCormick through the park into the downtown area, past all that. That's about a mile. Maybe a little bit less than a mile. But Grant Park is huge. The last time I seen Grant Park that full was when Obama first became president and they made the announcement. And I made the joke, Cubs win, Cubs win. But just imagine if these people were armed to the teeth. That many people? How are you going to stop a crowd like that if they were in one, taking all those people in all those major cities and put them in one group? You're talking at least 10 to 20 million people marching on D.C. Who's going to stop them? Let alone who's going to be willing to stop them? But this goes out to my foreign friends, my Canadian friends, and my friends that I got in Europe, some in Southeast Asia. This is proof that you can tell that a lot of people do not like the decisions that are made at all. We don't like our leadership. We love our country. But you see, they twist that, make it sound like, oh, they hate America. Well, sir, no, we don't hate America. We hate you. And, sir, you're not America. You're just a citizen like I am, and you share a country with me. You were just fortunate enough to be put in the position that you're in. But that's not going to last, and you're going to come out of that position. How you do it in your legacy, depending on the way you can keep conducting yourself. You want to end up at the end of a rope? Keep going. You want to end up in prison? If you're lucky, keep going. If you look at history, history shows and tells you that you're aiding and abetting a criminal like him, and you know that you're doing so and trying to cover it up. That's aiding and abetting. That's jail time there. But I don't know if I said this in any of my live streams or anybody else. Everybody knows that, but that Trump is a pedophile. We all know that he's a pedo. It's just there's a lot of them that, like Trump, are still in denial. They'll always be in denial. Even as you're carting them away in the disaster, and you got 100% proof with pictures, video, you show it to those people, they still will be in denial. That they'll say, "Oh, that's fake news," and it's sad. But I don't think that's what really they're trying to cover up, because this took place before Trump became president. And Trump was not a very rich man. Matter of fact, he was going broke. So he needed money if he wanted to stay in the sweet position that he was in. He was no billionaire at that time. He was lucky to be a millionaire. That was about it. But he was going broke. Uh, in history, it shows that being born into a rich lifestyle like that, where your daddy's a millionaire, um, you becoming a self-made man is most likely unlikely. You can claim that you are, but you're not. You're handed a silver spoon. Your daddy did all the work and became a self-made man and just handed it off to you when he died. There's no skill in that. You were just fortunate enough to be born into it, and it was a genetic accident. But he was going bust, okay? So in order for him to make a lot of money, he was probably in on the trafficking with Epstein because that's how close they were. Sure, a lot of the girls that Epstein ended up getting, you're only told about the one. No, no, no. There was more than that. There were more than that that were being funneled through Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago, and then they worked for him, and then they went over to Epstein Island. Same thing with the Miss America, Miss Teen USA. Donald Trump, I don't know if he still owns those pageants, but yeah, where do you think he was getting the girls from? Woo! Can't prove it, but leads up to where we need to investigate this little matter. Kind of funny that some of his people in position, when you have to listen to that woman that says um, they're bikini models. Almost every woman that works in his cabinet or a part of his journalistic staff, they're all former bikini models. Look it up. Look at their past. You see a lot of photos of them in bikinis, just like his current wife. But they're going to probably end up getting divorced when his presidency's over. I'd like to see it happen beforehand, but Trump's not going to allow it while he's in office. Yeah, you rarely see those two together, and she doesn't stay at the White House. She stays in Mar-a-Lago, screwing the pool boy and the gardener. And by the way, is Spanish. Oh yeah. Hmm. And he was saying, "Oh, we worried about people speaking English and everything else." Oh yeah. Then why does our first foreign lady have struggled to speak clear English? Oh boy. Oh, here we go. I kind of figured on a Sunday during the day, no one's going to come to my live stream. But at least some people could probably go watch the replay if they wish. Me, I had nothing else to do, so I said, oh, the hell with it. I'll just do this, talk about yesterday. Funny thing is, I was kept from all of it. The route that I took to come to deliver this, I didn't go through any. I went through one major city, if you want to call it that, Charleston, West Virginia. I came close to Columbus, but there was a big crowd there too. Oh, shout out to Tammy Trott. I got to say that. Um, it's good that the owners of that giant balloon Trump in a diaper got on a plane and flew all the way to Southern California and was there yesterday with the balloon out. Oh, that was great. I would have never guessed they would have flew all the way there. You know, I figured they would be in New York. No, they went to Southern California. I was like, whoa. You know, if I had that kind of money, I'd have invited them also. And like, look, I got your plane ticket, round trip. We'll set you up in a hotel. I'd buy them dinners. It's like, hey, come over here, bring that balloon. Get a free vacation on me. But I'll tell you what, those mates, I bet you they had a ball. And if they didn't know, they would have instantly learned, like, wow, this food is really good. Now I'm sure there were a lot of food trucks in that area, and you buy some of their tacos. Oh, they'll knock your socks off. I know those British were probably, whoa, this is really good. But this isn't about nothing. And my opinion is this: look, if our current leader is unwilling to do his job, then we can put him out to pasture. I vote that we amend the Constitution, put him out to pasture, and bring somebody in that will do the job. And J.D. Vance can go with him. I'll yank out Article 2, Chapter 4, where the whole cabinet and everybody go with him. And as a replacement until we have a true election, I recommend Bernie Sanders take the leadership of the United States because he's willing to work. He's been out there. He was out in Southern California yesterday. He travels the country, talking to the people, and he was always there at Congress. And I like him because he's actually an independent. He's neither right or left. Well, what the Americans call the right and left. But we have no left in this country. You can call it that all you want. But when you talk to my European colleagues and friends, they'll tell you, you ain't got a left in your country. We look at the Democrat Party, that is a right-wing party. Bill Clinton moved the Democratic Party to the right. And the Republican Party saw that and went further to the right. It went crazy. Look at it. It's like we're being led by the freaking mental institution. Where our leadership says, oh, America first. But and yet everybody's going broke. A lot of people getting thrown out of their house, losing their job. Tariffs up the wazoo. Nobody can afford anything, and our farmers are going bust and losing their farms. But and yet, instead of putting America first, he adds another $20 billion to Argentina. So he gives Argentina $40 billion. Oh, like that couldn't have helped the American people, or if they bailed out the farmers, you're only talking 12 to 15 billion would have bailed them out. Oh no, we can't do that. That'd be actually putting America first. But there's still people that believe that he loves America and he's this and that and everything, all these wonderful things. One of the best examples I can put in this, the denial of a lot of Americans is this. If anybody ever seen the movie Young Frankenstein by Mel Brooks, it was the comical movie of Frankenstein. Marty Feldman was a British actor. He played Igor, which was Young Frankenstein's assistant. And he was helping Young Frankenstein out of his coach. And Young Frankenstein accidentally put his hand on his hump, on his back. And he goes, I'm a surgeon. I could help you with that. And he goes, and Marty Feldman goes, with what? He goes, well, your hump. And Marty Feldman went, what hump? That's the way Americans are. What hump? That's denial and refusing to see reality for what it is. Kyle. I don't know if there's anybody in here because the eyeball says you're 0 people in here. Me, I'm just making a video. Oh, wait a minute. I got some people I didn't know here. Oh, there we go. It's not red. It's gray now. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing good. How are you?
All right.
Yesterday, I was up on Darren's panel for a little while.
Yeah, I fell asleep and didn't wake up until the stream was over.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. You were asleep. And that's
Yeah,
what
if I'm
Darren thought it too.
yeah, two things. The only two things are gonna make me miss Darren's live stream: if I'm at a football game, my son's football game, or I fell asleep.
Yep. I guess you needed it.
Well, my hours is chaotic. Sometimes I drive through the night, sleep all day. Half day, half night. It's chaotic.
Yeah, I totally get that. It can get comical at times.
I'm in the far eastern stick of West Virginia, and
Mm.
I'll be in Maryland for about 16 miles. That real thin stick of Maryland that goes across West Virginia. I'm headed up to Bedford, Pennsylvania.
Oh, cool.
And I don't got nobody to talk to. Oh, Kyle, you still got my link to the panel, right?
Yeah, your link was still in there. Yeah.
Can you drop it in the chat?
I
Copy and
don't think
paste.
I'm. I don't think I'm able to because I'm not a mod.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
on my phone. I don't know how to add you as a mod on the phone. I think I have to be on my tablet or my laptop.
I think you have to do it on the YouTube side.
But nobody really typed in the chat, so it should still be there at the top.
I saw one person in here.
Yeah, I couldn't make out the name.
I couldn't either, really.
But it's your generation that's going to suffer the most to this. and the one coming up after you. I'm assuming you're a millennial, right? Or Gen Z.
I would assume
What year were you born?
2003.
I think that's the start of the Gen Z
Yeah.
because we're in Gen Alpha. My youngest two daughters are alphas.
Mm.
Yeah, the millennials were born, I believe, 82 to 99.
Oh man.
I'm a Gen Xer. Gen Xers are 1965 to 81. What's funny is my parents are not boomers. They were born just before it. My mom was close to being a boomer. She missed it by a year. She was born in 1945.
Mm.
46 is when the boom generation started. My dad was born in 43. Even though they, before them is the great generation, they don't act like the great generation. They act more like a boomer. My parents did. But the only true boomer that I have in our family is my eldest sister that was born in 62.
Oh wow.
My eldest sister, Donna.
Cool.
My sister, Joanne, missed it by a year being a boomer. She's the first year of the Gen X. She was
Mm.
born in 65.
Cool.
But see, not all, but a good majority of your Gen Xers understand you guys, the millennials and Gen Z,
Yeah.
because we were the first generation that wasn't delusional. We knew we were getting screwed. That's why a big chunk of the being rebellious comes from us, the Gen Xers, and that's why we had the greatest generation of music that to prove it.
Yeah.
We couldn't quite put our finger on it or explain it, but we just knew that there was something wrong here, that we were going to get screwed.
You just couldn't make it out.
Yes, it wasn't later in life that I figured it out early on. I figured it out when I was in my 30s. I'm like, this American dream is bullshit. I put instead of American Dream, I go with the album title of the Styx album, The Grand Illusion. Tommy Shaw wrote that song, The Grand Illusion, and he was from South Bend, Indiana. He knew then that song came out in the late 70s. He knew then that it was a grand illusion, that the American Dream was bullshit. And by the way, that's a good song, by the way, by Styx. Grand Illusion.
I never heard his music before.
Oh, Styx? Oh, I'm
No.
sure you have. I'm sure you have through your parents.
Maybe.
But was there? I heard there was protest, big crowds down there in Florida.
Yeah, it's in
Yeah,
Orlando.
yesterday.
I
It
just
was
heard
Orlando.
I just heard about that on the news. Yeah. And I
So
think they were doing it like in Daytona and I forget the other area.
Orlando sort of surprises me, but I figured Miami would have been the big one.
Well, yeah, Orlando's pretty crowded with a bunch of people, and that's the county that I'm originally from.
Oh, you were born in Orlando?
Yeah, I was born in the middle of Florida.
Hmm. Briefly lived there a couple of times in my day,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I can't live here. I owned a house for a year and only saw it for maybe a total of 15 minutes because I learned what de-restricted neighborhood is, and I'm like, oh no, screw this. I'm not spending over $250,000 for a house, and people are going to tell me how I'm going to live, and I can't have a barbecue or a party past 8 o'clock at night, and I got to have these old folks yelling at me.
That's crazy.
I was serious. I told that old man, I said, "You don't have to put up with me. I never met you before, sir. I came here to sign the paperwork. I just sold the house because I don't need it because I've owned it for a year." And I said, "I just had to sign the paperwork and I'm out of here. You don't have to deal with me anymore." He wouldn't get out of my. I said, "Old man, get out of my way or I will run you over."
You seriously said that to him?
I'll call the police. I said, "Fine, call them. I'll be long gone before they actually get here. And by the time they put an APB on my truck, I'll already have my next load, and I'll be down the highway, probably out of the state of Florida." That's what de-restricted neighborhood means. I couldn't park my truck in front of the house. Well, I did just long enough to sign the paperwork through the bank because I sold it. And he wanted to come out and block me and start yelling at me. "You're not allowed to park this here." I said, "Well, get out of my way. I'm leaving." I was being nice and everything until I was about ready to lose my temper. I said, "Old man, get out of my way or I will run you over."
Some people just don't have patience anymore. And I do get that. Sometimes I have a hard time losing patience too.
Just, I respect my elders. But when they're
Right.
coming off with an attitude, I'd be nice and I explain to them. But if they don't want to listen to the explanation and have an understanding and want to be stupid about it, just to have something to complain about it, and then start aggravating me, then I start to get angry.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm getting older, but I don't treat the younger generation like shit, like a lot of old folks do. Because I stick up for you Gen Zers and the millennials, and here's how I do it. Because we're the forgotten generation. When you hear the media, they only talk about boomers and millennials and Gen Z. That's it. And you hear these, some of them are Gen Xers, but a lot of them are boomers. They're saying, "I don't know what's wrong with these kids. They're lazy and blah, 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 and blah, 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 this and blah, blah, that." And I'm like, you know what? Your generation was the one that was doing LSD standing buck naked in the field at Woodstock. There was over a million of you in that damn field. Okay? The great generation thought the same thing you guys thought it was the end of the world because the way you guys were conducting yourself, because you had everything handed to you. I said, back in the day, you could have quit high school at the age of 16 by law. You could quit high school after your second year of high school, and you'd have a factory job that paid you very well. You could get but damn near the next day, a factory job that would pay you a wage where you could afford to buy a house, a car, and everything else, and afford it. These kids, what do they got? All those jobs are gone. They've been long gone. They packed up and moved. These kids are lucky to have a job making a minimum wage as a barista at a Starbucks or McDonald's. You guys had it. Me, my generation, we briefly had it. But in 1978 is when wages stopped rising. They lived in a generation where, yeah, they were going to live better than their parents. But that's not true anymore. And some people would say, well, my pay has gone up. Yes, your pay has gone up. But yes, so has inflation. When you take that into account, what a person makes and the rate of inflation and what the average worker gets to be able to afford to live, to buy food, housing, clothing, whatever, it's the same as it was in 1978. The Bureau of Economic Research is the best website to go to. It's nonpartisan. So one or the other can't say, well, this is fake news or this was written by Democrats or this is written by no. They're nonpartisan. This is what they did for a living. They're probably out of work now because the government shut down, but Bureau of Economic Research and the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But how many people know that or would ever do that? Not many.
Yeah.
That's why your future is called worker cooperatives. It's starting to take off. It's starting to grow. I'm not by far not the only one. You're going to have a whole lot more people talking about it when they find out about it, and it's nothing new. It's old. One of the best places to find out is Wisconsin and Minnesota. That's why they really don't have in certain areas they do, like Madison and Milwaukee. But most parts in like northern Wisconsin, worker cooperatives. What should tip these people off is the football team, the Green Bay Packers. They talk about it all the time, how they're community owned. They're not privately owned by one individual. The community owns Green Bay. And yes, they've won a lot of Super Bowls, hadn't they? That means they're socialist. All around Lambeau Field is nothing but a bunch of worker cooperatives and warehousing. Every time I go to Green Bay, I was looking too. Usually, when you go into a city, see people begging asses on the side of the interstate by the red light, begging for money so they could buy alcohol or some fentanyl. You don't see that up there.
Yeah,
You don't see it.
I can't stand people like that.
You can't, and you don't see it in Minnesota either. And I said one of the biggest example of worker cooperatives, and it's old. It came out in the 30s. Was Land O'Lakes, the dairy company. They're famous for their butter, not margarine, butter. And everybody was complaining because they removed the Indian maiden off the logo and said it was, oh, so the liberals complain. I said the liberals had nothing to do with it. It's a worker cooperative. That means the employees each had an equal vote. They did a vote. Should we keep it or take the Indian maiden off? The majority vote won to remove the Indian maiden. But see, those idiots didn't know that. They thought it was a corporate capitalist company, and it's not. The employees own it. Very successful. And it's recently spread about like 4 or 5 years ago in western Iowa. Iowa's really caught on to it. I'm trying to get my town on board with it because I said either we could do it now or get left behind to where our kids are going to have to stumble upon it because our kids are not repopulating this town. They're not staying here. You're finding them in other cities to where those cities are benefiting from our kids instead of our own town. There's a way to keep the kids here to where they want to raise their future families here and have a meaningful life. And having a worker cooperatives, that's the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing is that revolutions have taught us. A lot of countries have had revolutions, big ones. China, Russia, United States. We've had our revolutions. Turns out you can live without a king. People, it was believed back then, the economic system was called feudalism. It was believed that, oh, the human race would cease to exist and we would collapse and everything without a king. Turns out you can live without a king.
That's very true.
Yeah, this hierarchical meritocracy, it's not needed. We can live without it. Let's have the democracy that our country was designed to have, because when you read the Constitution, it says we are only allowed to have freedom and democracy where we live, but when we go to work, it doesn't exist because that's what we have here. When Thomas Jefferson wrote that, did he say only here but not there? Not that I know of. The first place our democracy should have been instituted was at the workplace where we spend most of our adult life. Oh boy. Jesus, I didn't know it was almost 2 o'clock already.
Really?
It's 1:41.
Yeah, you're right. It's 1:41. So we have about like 19 or 18 more minutes until it turns 2 o'clock.
Yeah, I can't deliver this until tomorrow early morning. Like early or late last night, right around midnight, I delivered to Gordonsville, Virginia, the Walmart there. I got it delivered to the Bedford, PA Walmart, and then take the remainder of the load to Johnstown, New York. Now I'm in Maryland.
Traffic wasn't really that bad, was it?
No, because I went from Ohio, went through Ohio all the way through West Virginia and into Virginia. Now I've gone back through West Virginia and Maryland, and about 15 miles I'll be in Pennsylvania. I'm going to stop at the Breezewood, TA, and get a coffee.
Yeah.
Oh, over to my right.
Sorry, go ahead.
Over to my right is the Antietam battlefield.
Oh, cool.
Antietam, I believe that was Civil War. It's historic land that can never be developed because one of the famous Civil War battles was fought there, Antietam.
Yeah. I remember my dad was telling me he was in the Civil War and all that stuff.
Your dad was into it?
He was in the Civil War, so yeah.
Your dad wasn't old enough. Plus, if he was, your dad be 170 years old if he was in the Civil War. He was into it, yeah, studying it and everything.
Yesterday was my dad's birthday, so we got to celebrate his birthday.
How old is he?
He is now 63.
Well, I didn't realize your father was that old. My dad was alive. His birthday was 3 days ago.
Oh, wow.
My dad died in 2000. And wait a minute. I got to redo the math here. What's 57 plus 25? been 93 years old if my dad was still alive, I believe, or 83. It's 57 plus 25. Use your calculator for me, would you,
I don't even have a
Kyle?
calculator.
Oh, I thought you had one on your phone.
No. Hold on, maybe I can ask Siri.
It would have been 82, I think. Yeah, 82. If my dad was
Okay,
still
yeah.
alive.
It's 82. You're right.
Yeah. I'm
I
not the
just told
best of
Siri.
doing math in my head. I try my best.
I try my best as well. But the larger numbers, I can't do that. Yeah, it was pretty dead over at Darren's yesterday.
Really?
Ellie, I didn't see Ellie at all, so I would assume he's doing something.
I'm on Interstate 70. I don't like being around DC because the traffic is atrocious. But with DC being shut down, the government and everything, that means all the lobbyists don't flood the freaking highway, and the call girls aren't driving around either. So that means it would lighten the load on the traffic around DC. But I just don't like being around a city that is a major target in a nuclear war.
Yeah. Right. Today's football, so my dad's watching the game out there.
Miami fan?
Not really into the Miami. I don't know what they're playing against.
I mean, who's your dad a fan of?
Not really sure. I really don't watch any football games on TV.
Yeah, I'm a Chicago Bears fan. Not doing so good this year.
Yeah, I'd say Chicago's not doing so well.
But I'm focused on my son's team because they won conference and they're 9-0. They got one more game to play for the regular season, and my son will be the best team that school has ever had. Be the first team to go undefeated in the regular season.
I remember back when I was in high school, I would go to some football games.
Yeah,
Those were the good old days.
yeah, it's good knowing that my son's going. I already knew it way back in the day. I was telling everybody this. I was the only one saying it. And when it happens, I'm going to say, "I told y'all." And I said, "Then I'm looking at a championship trophy this year." Them boys bringing the trophy home.
That's good. At least your
Because
son's been working his butt off.
yeah, in Canton, Ohio, that's the premiere. That's where the NFL Hall of Fame is. The Hall of Fame is right next to the main one of the grandstand of the stadium where the football games are played. The first game of the season, they choose two teams to play, and their first game of the season is right there at Hall of Fame Field in Canton, Ohio. And all the scouts are going to be there watching.
Yeah.
That's probably where Troy's going to be. I don't think I don't think he's going to make it to the last game of the season because they got him going all over the damn country. But he told me he goes if he goes to the state championship game, I will be there. He goes, I was there last year. What happened? Said the boys couldn't make it past the third round.
Yeah. So you were
Don't
there
make
back
it.
in 24.
Huh?
So you were there back in 2024, 23, right?
No, never made it to Canton, Ohio yet. The boys always would make it to the third round and lose. But this year they changed the way the playoffs is played. We have home field advantage in the first 3 rounds. So we're most likely going to get past the third round. Then there's 2 rounds at a neutral field, and then that last round is in Canton, Ohio, where all the divisions play for the state championship.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just on YouTube, just seeing what I can watch or whatever, and I saw you were live, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna hang out over here and see what's going on. Because I was getting bored.
Man, I was just going here and see if anybody's going to come in and have a conversation. I mean, shit, it's so boring. I'd even take Sammy bitching and cussing at me. At least I'm talking to somebody.
She'll probably cuss your butt out all day, I bet. Tammy was over in Darren's yesterday, I would assume.
Yeah, but that was funny. I didn't expect it. I'm watching videos, of the protests, and then we went to we're going to go to Southern California. They went there, and the guy that was doing the speech there was saying that you can take pictures of the balloon of Donald Trump, and the camera panned over to it, and it was the one from England with Trump in a diaper, and I'm like, I can't believe it. They came all the way from the UK to Southern California.
Wow. Wow. That's something. Oh, man. Yeah, yesterday I finally got the 2.200 the other day.
Oh, that's good.
Which is very impressive. My numbers have been going really fast lately. At least I'm doing something right.
Yeah. Yeah, I got. Ugh. I just cannot believe that there are still people going to back what's going on right now. And I guess until it affects them negatively, they're going to stay and be oblivious to what's going on.
Yeah.
Because the ones that woke up really quickly, but not all of them, even though they were going down in the tubes and they knew it, they were going to bankruptcy, going to lose the farm. And some of them said they would still have voted for Trump. Really? He's the one that's slitting your throat right now. You may be into this BDSM shit, but I'm not. and neither a lot of Americans. I mean, you may have strange taste, but you know, you're cheering on your downfall. No. I'm like, you must have some very unusual taste because this is not a good idea. And I look at how many people showed up at the theater to go see 50 Shades of Grey, and I'm like, hey, we got too many people that are into this sort of thing. That's not good.
I would not show up there at all. I say, what the hell with this?
I dated a woman that wanted to be hit, punched in the face and everything. And I stopped seeing her and stopped talking to her because I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. I mean, this is really some sick, off the wall shit in my book. I mean, I'd smack him on the ass. Hell yeah, that's natural. Any dude would do that. But to hit him and punch it, no, I would not never do that.
No, that's assault.
Ugh. And hopefully, I can meet my damn daughter's boyfriend. The last football game coming up this weekend, Friday.
This upcoming Friday?
Yeah. Her
Okay.
last boyfriend was great and everything. It's just, I guess, I don't know why it didn't work out. I guess they didn't. Dude, you gonna get hit by a truck? I haven't met this new one. I guess he's okay, but let's find out. I can't really hold his feet to the fire, but I want to have a conversation with him. I'm hoping that either the day after the football game, I can draw a lot of people into this thing I want to do. I want to make a proposal, and like a lot of the young kids, the seniors in the high school there, to listen to me for an hour or two.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I would tell them, this is what we need to do from now on as a community. Come together and listen to proposals and to talk about it because people need to engage. Because if it doesn't happen, then the town is going to continue to sink. Yes, we necessarily haven't been affected entirely by what's going on, but eventually everybody will because these things happen unevenly. There are some cities and towns that are affected right away and boom, they sink. But it takes a little time, but the rest of the country will follow. And I know everybody is being affected by the inflation. And then some of them are almost on the brink of going bankrupt that I live around. I'm like, folks, how bad is it going to have to get before we get together and start talking about this? Because we're all similarly situated. We all live together around each other, just like a tribe. But not talking to one another does not solve the problems that we have. An individualistic idea is not going to solve our problems. What we have here is a social problem, and to cure a social problem, you need a social solution. That means you need all hands on deck.
Mm-hmm.
You can succeed a lot further as a group of people than you can as an individual. And that's not to say to remove your individuality, no. But being an individual doesn't mean that you just throw the whole social canon out and be alone all the time. Because human beings were meant to be social. We were
Just not
designed
to a
that way.
clock. Sorry if I cut you off.
No, that's all right.
Just about now 2 o'clock. I don't know if you heard my grandfather clock out there.
Yeah, I thought it was something else.
Some people ask me in the comments sometimes, like, what kind of clock is that? And I would say it's a grandfather clock.
Yeah, those are rare anymore.
At least it helps me with the times. When you're not looking at the time, it goes really fast.
Uh huh. But as successful as the protest yesterday, there will be more, and it may grow larger as more and more people are being negatively affected by what's going on. It's going to grow and get bigger and bigger.
Most definitely.
And if I was one of the aides in the White House watching that, because there was a big one in D.C., if he was in the White House and I was one of his aides, I'd be looking at him like, "You're seeing this, right? You understand?" I'd be like, "You think this is a joke?" I'd be like, "Mr. President, does the name Custer mean anything to you?" I said, because when the crap goes down, everybody's going to abandon you, and yeah, you're going to be hanging. But some of the others, they're probably not going to be just as fortunate as you.
You definitely got that right.
Because Homan and Hegseth, oh yeah, they're going to hang. Or I'd rather chop their heads off. That's why I called my friend in France, Cadell. I said, Cadell, is there any way that you can loan the United States the National Razor? He started laughing. He goes, Sean, are you shitting me? I'm like, no. I said that National Razor hasn't seen blood in a couple hundred years. It's kind of hungry right now, but I'll return it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the guillotine. It's the one that they used in the French Revolution when they were chopping all heads off. I'm like, well, can we use that?
Right.
I said, I'll make you a deal. You get to watch. We'll put it on a live stream. Get to Donald Trump, I'd be like, no, turn him over. I want him to see it coming.
Excuse me, yeah.
Because when he dies, it'll be in sheer terror. He's going to see that blade coming at him. And it's going to be done, if this does happen, it's going to be done over cheering of the crowd. Thousands of people out there. Because when they chopped King Louis's head off, along with Marie Antoinette and the rest of them, they were cheering. Kapow! Yay! Yeah. Me, I just want to volunteer to be our version of Maximilian Robespierre. That means I get to stand there in fancy robes as they're putting them in the guillotine and say, "Do you have any last words?" Let them speak. And then, okay, put them in the guillotine. They get to Trump. I'm like, turn him over, face up.
Yep.
Excuse me. Because history is studied really well, Kyle. And the people who have studied it, like me,
Yeah.
a lot of people will look upon at history because history doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but it echoes. And decisions that are made for other people that affect other people, you got to be aware that if you're doing making decisions that are constantly being negative to the massive amount of people in the country, you need to come to the understanding that if you don't if you put these people in a situation where they're struggling for food, having a place to live, yeah, in all cultures in every country on the face of this earth, people are gonna talk revolution, even though they're talking civil war. They want us fighting each other. It's like, no, civil war isn't going to solve anything. Revolution, now you're talking. Revolution means the 1% versus the 99%. And who do you think wins in a revolution like that? Yeah, 99% of the people against 1% of the people. Who do you think is going to win?
99%.
Exactly. And I volunteered to be the one to put it to them that way. I'm going to put it. If they'd sit me down with the rich elite and the 1% in this country, and I said, you can either listen to me or you can ignore me. Okay,
Sure, you're
but
too lucky.
but you're gonna face the consequences of ignoring me or not doing what I propose. And I'm going to propose the same that Roosevelt did to your grandparents or your parents at that time. You're going to give me the money to help the massive American people. Because if you don't, those people are going to want a revolution and they're going to make sure you ain't got no money to give me. You'll be lucky to get away with your life. So either give me some of it or you ain't going to have any of it. And they did. A lot of them bought it. And that's how Roosevelt created Social Security, minimum wage, unemployment insurance. That created the middle class in this country. Was able to hire 15 million Americans as government workers, put the massive people to work. This was before World War II, 1933. And he said, I'm going to tax you really high. And his first proposal was to tax the wealthy and the rich 100% over a certain amount. At today's standards, it would be like almost $500,000. You make more than that, it goes to the government to take care of the mass American people. And that's why we had the lifestyle that we had in this country. And we had social safety nets. We still had capitalism, but we had a little mix of socialism too. But all that's gone, except for Social Security, what's left of it.
Yeah.
Because when Roosevelt died in 1945, before the war ended, the government went to work, especially the Republicans, and they undid all those uh, reforms that we got that created the middle class in this country. And I'm going to tell them the same thing. And I would make this permanent, where it cannot be undone. And sure, I mean, the gap between rich and poor was a lot narrower then, but these were still the most wealthiest people in the world. And it's like, okay, how much money do you need? Because we've already added up the billionaires and the millionaires in this country, which is about 2,800 people out of 400 or 340 million. 2,400 people. We added up their wealth together is $52 trillion. Our national debt is almost 37 trillion. Take care of our debt, wipe it out, and then be able to take the rest of it and put people back to work, and everything would be hunky dory. And they would still be the richest people in the world. But I'm not going to force them, but they're going to have to face those consequences. They know it. They know our history. Most Americans don't, because we're not allowed to be taught that history in school. In all history classes, they made sure that we didn't get taught what happened in the 1930s. And they made sure that capitalism would never have any critics, where people would talk bad about our capitalism and our economic system. That is the greatest thing since sliced bread. We're going to celebrate it and never criticize it. And me, I've always, for the past 20 years, I've been a critic, because it doesn't work.
Doesn't work like that.
Well, capitalism doesn't work. There's the illusion that it does. It took credit for us having a strong middle class at one time. It took credit for that, but it fought against it, which is pretty sleazy in a way. It's like you guys fought against the New Deal, but you're going to take credit of its success. It all started in 1978 when wages stopped rising. Corporate profits went through the freaking roof, so did production. So there was a bonanza on the stock market from 1980 all the way till 2009 when it crashed. They were just getting too crazy. Instead of rising the workers' wages, they made people borrow. So instead of taxing you wealthy people, you'll lend us the money and we'll pay you back in interest. All that extra money that they were making because they didn't raise wages, they created their own banks, like GM, the auto industry. They created GMAC, which is a bank. Instead of that, we raise their wages, we'll just loan it to them and get it back in interest. And a day will come that you won't have enough wealth to service the debt on a stagnant wage, and that's why 2009 happened. The party was over, and Americans had to face the reality that the American dream was all a fantasy. It was all a fantasy. Ugh. Oh crap! When I get to Breezewood, I got to stop at the TA and fill my reefer unit. 20 miles? Really? I thought it was further away than that. But these are going to be trying times. And there's many directions that this can go in. But I'm telling you, things are going to get a lot worse before it gets better. When you look at the last time that this happened, the crash of the stock market and the economy was in 1929, and it lasted until 1941. That's a long time. 11 or 12 years there. Lasted a long time. But I'm going to start making videos whenever I come across ice because it's happened twice to me. And none of them understood a word I said because they don't speak German.
Oh, that's something.
Man, one of them asked me, "Are you an American citizen?" And I'm like, "Are you fucking serious?" And I'm glad I carry it with me. My CDL, my birth certificate, my TWIC card. I said, how much more do you need to prove that I'm a fucking American? That's when I started using profanity. Because when I was walking in the truck stop and I saw them, I stopped, stiffened up, and said, "Wir das Deutsche Reich." And I was like, nobody speaks German, okay? It's kind of obvious what I was saying, if you knew history.
That's what you were saying, but in a different language.
Well, I said it in German. And the response, if someone spoke German, would have said, "Sieg Heil."
They were probably
That,
hoping.
if one of them did, I would have shook his hand and died laughing. I said, I didn't expect anybody to speak German. Alles ist ein. That's the first thing you heard when Hitler went to the podium at a speech rally for the SA and the SS.
That's something.
What I said was, "Attention, SSSA." When I'd said that, the whole crowd would have went "Hail!" like that, and then they'd all be quiet, and you do the speech. See me, I do it as a joke, and I have fun with it because I
Well,
took
of
the
course.
time. I took the time to learn all this, and when I can have fun with it, I'm going to.
Right. As long as you're having fun with it, that's all that matters.
But if it was a protest and I yelled that out, there'd probably be a few people that would have understood it.
Probably.
But I've only twice had used my megaphone for that. When I was going under the bridge and they had all those Mexican flags, I got it out and stuck it out the window and it said, "Viva la Mexico." And they were all cheering too. And I tooted my horn. And when I was in Lincoln, Nebraska, picking up that load of pork at Smithfield, I don't know how I ended up in front of the place, but there was the Capitol building, and they were all in front of there protesting, and I stuck it out too. Said, I'm like, hold your ground, keep going. You guys are doing great.
Yeah.
Because, see, they looked at my truck, and from what everybody had been told, everybody was told that all the truckers voted for Trump. That's bullshit. Sure, there were some, but not all. A lot of us would not have voted. A lot of us did not vote because they couldn't make it home to vote, or most of them didn't elect not to vote. But I do know me and a few others that voted. We didn't vote for Trump. I almost didn't vote because I wanted to vote Jill Stein. Only one time in history did I vote for either political party. One time. It was the first time Obama became president. I voted for him. But other than that, the first year I got to vote was during the Bill Clinton, uh, George H.W. Bush's era. It was after George H.W. Bush's first term because he replaced Reagan because Reagan did 2 terms. He was his vice president. He ran for president, became president for 4 years, and then Bill Clinton came along to run against him. But there was also a third party for the first time in a long time. It was Ross Perot. I voted for Ross Perot in that election. Because Ross Perot, I tell people, go back and look at that election in the early 90s of Clinton, Ross Perot, and Bush. And you listen to Ross Perot, what he was saying. He's explaining to you what we're going through right now economically. He saw the mess coming economically for us. But nobody wanted to listen to Ross Perot, even though he did get a lot of votes. Then after that, I voted for I just had a brain fart, forgot his name. Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader. I voted for Ralph Nader many a times. Then when Obama came around, I voted for him, but I didn't vote for him the second time because he turned his back on Occupy Wall Street. He said he was going to do what Roosevelt did, bring it back, the New Deal, but he needed a movement from below. He got it with Occupy Wall Street. Instead of bringing those people in, he sent the bulldozers in and ran those people out. And I'm like, oh, you motherfucker. And that's when I started voting for Jill Stein. Me, I've been a third party voter most of my voting life.
Yeah.
But I wanted Bernie. Bernie was running on the Republican ticket against Hillary. And that's where the Democratic Party really slit its own throat. Hillary was not going to beat Donald Trump. Bernie would have, because a lot of us were like, we're not voting for Hillary, but we'll vote for Bernie. And everybody wanted Bernie. Bernie was cheated out of that because he won West Virginia, but they gave it to Hillary. But Bernie technically is an independent.
Yeah.
I mean, even the experts and Saturday Night Live, they were doing skits of that election. They figured that Bernie, it was going to be Bernie against Donald Trump. And I'll guarantee you Trump would have not beaten Bernie. But Hillary was forced on the Democrats. And I'm like, well, I'm going to have to vote Jill Stein. But basically, ever since I've been born, back and forth. It's the Texas two-step. 4 to 8 years one way, 4 to 8 years the other way. You just keep going back and forth. Nothing's gotten done for the working class or anything else. Since, well, I was not even a year old when the last thing that ever happened, I finally caught it, the last thing that benefited the mass of American people. And it was the last left-leaning decision by a diehard Republican president that was impeached and had to leave office, or he would have got thrown in jail, which is Richard Milhous Nixon. August 15th, 1971, we were going through a nasty inflation like right now. He comes out on the TV and ordered a wage price freeze. And overnight, the inflation was gone. Overnight, he put an end to it. And they all knew this. They all know it. They're just not going to do it. Biden could have done it, but he didn't. But does the American people know about that? That happened back in 1971? No, you're not told about that because it's very important. Because it benefits the majority of the American people and not the rich elite. That's why you're not going to hear about it. And the media won't talk about it. Just like they won't talk about the FDR and the New Deal. It was the New Deal that wasn't green yet. And a lot of people were bad-mouthing the Green New Deal. I'm like, are you serious? You're willing to slit your throat, and you're one of them. That was going to benefit you and your family and everybody else. But you'd rather have your throat slit than to take care of everybody. I'm like, what a fucking moron you are. But like I said, a lot of people do not know our own history because it necessarily was not taught to us. Well, got 7 more miles. Once I pull in the TA, I'll end the live stream. Kind of more people would have came in. We could have had a brilliant conversation. Teach people more. I gotta go. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. See you later. Bye.